Peace and blessings to the family. It is me, Coach 67 Sports TV. Shout out to the awesome and amazing LDBC, Lions Den Broadcasting Community. Shout out to the Louisiana All American Sports Network. Shout out to M Vision Photography and Video. And shout out to the greatest university in the world, the Southern University, home of the mighty Jaguars. In this particular live stream, I'm going to talk about a variety of different topics and issues when it comes to Southern University football. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to just piggyback off the previous show. So y'all sit back, relax. We getting ready to buckle up, enjoy the ride. Give me one quick second while I take care of some background stuff. Just bear with me briefly and quickly. Okay. Let's get it going. Oh, shucks, got to check on. Hold on one second. Bear with me real quick. Okay, let's pop it off. Salute to the family, relaxing, calm, rain. He said, salute, coach, and chat. Man, salute to your fam. Motivation to be a millionaire. He said, salute, Coach 67 and chat. Let's go. Yes, sir. Let's get it. So, relaxing Conrad and the motivation to be a millionaire, they always coming through, always, showing me support, always showing love. So I'm going to just piggyback off the previous show. First, we're going to go to Relaxing Comrade because in a previous live stream, Relaxing Comrade asked, what are your top 5 SU games that you've been to in person? So let's start with that list first. First, I'm gonna go at the bottom. I'm gonna work my way up to the top. Honorable mention slot 04 Bayou Classic. The thing that stood out so much about the 04 Bayou Classic is Al Quan was stopped on the 1-yard line and Southern University won. This was the last game Senior was alive for. I'm not going to even lie. I didn't know Southern defense was going to be able to make the goal line stand at the end of the game, but they was able to make the goal line stand. They won. So 04 Bayou Classic. Next honorable mention slot, the 98 Bayou Classic was another banger of a game. Lionel Hayes had been to Southern. He transferred to Grambling. He showed his behind, and after that, Channing Warner and crew, they locked him down, and they was able to get the dub. At the number 5 spot, I'm going to go with the 96 Heritage Bowl. Senior decided, hey, in between Christmas and New Year's, we're going to go to Atlanta. We're going to go to Heritage Bowl. Steve Wolfen and crew, they played against South Carolina State. That was a heck of a game. Number 4 slot, I'm going to go with the 2014 Bayou Classic. This was another explosive game, no defense, high-scoring affair. Willie Quinn was pretty much the star of that particular game. He was able to pull Southern out, pull Southern through, and get them over the top. Number 3 slot, I'm going to go with the 2003 Bayou Classic. Another one, a shootout between Quincy Richard and Bruce Eugene. This was a heck of a game. Southern ended up winning that game 44-41. And I think this is my most memorable moment as a Southern University fan at the Bayou Classic. Bruce Eugene crying on the bench after the game. As a Southern University fan, I'd probably say that's the most memorable moment for me of all the Bayou classes I've been to. Bruce Eugene crying on the bench after the game. Number 2 slot, the 93 game when Alcorn State, led by Steve Air McNair, when he came to A.W. Mumford Stadium, Pete Richardson Field. Like Adrian Crook said in the previous live stream, Steve McNair was rolling ankles. And I ain't gonna lie, Southern University had a hellified defense. For Alcorn to put up as many points as they put up, that goes to show you how great Steve Air McNair was at Alcorn State. But I'll probably say that's my number 2 game. And, of course, number 1, 99 Bayou Classic. Southern University dug themselves in a hole. Troy Williams wasn't playing too hot. He ended up getting hurt. Terrence Levy came in the game. Southern came back and won the game. And the late Aries Brown, he had an interception, ran it back. And that pretty much sealed the game at the end. So for Relaxing Calm Rain, that's my top 5 SU games I've been to. Salute to Blackwater Bayou. He said, salute, Coach, man. Salute to your fam. Another one of my day one supporters. Salute to my brother, Jared 11 Green. He said, salute, Coach. Man, y'all be certain to check out my brother on his channel. It's been a little minute since we did the Southern Baller Show, but every Sunday he do the Southern Baller Show. Every few Saturdays, every few Sundays we do the Southern Baller Show. Every Sunday we do the Southern Baller Show. Every few Saturdays we do the Black Man's Perspective. Hopefully we get everything squared away with himself, myself, and the General 7A Sports TV. Hopefully we get another edition of the Black Man's Perspective on Saturday. Not on a motivation to be a millionaires list. He asked in a previous live stream, what are your top 5 Southern University quarterback wide receivers duo, Pete Richardson era to now? I'm going to start at number 5 spot. I'm going to say Eric Randall and Fred Bailey. Number 4 spot, my brother Desmond Allen corrected it. He was correct. Shout out to Desmond Allen. He had Bryant Lee and Jamaria Stewart. Number 3 spot, I think Joseph David corrected it. Dre Joseph and Willie Quinn. No, I'm sorry. Somebody else corrected it, but we got a lot of fans that they stay on top of my list. So at number 3 spot, we got Dre Joseph and Willie Quinn. At the number 2 spot, we got Quincy Richard and either Alfred Art or Chris Davis. Number 1 spot, Terrence Levy and Mike Hayes. So that's my top 5 Southern University quarterback / wide receiver duos, Richardson era to now. And this one for Joseph David. Joseph David said, Coach, give me your top 5 cornerbacks. Not just limited to the Pete Richardson era of all time. So usually I start my way at the bottom. I work my way to the top. With this particular list, I'm going to work my way from the top to the bottom. At the number 1 spot, 1A, I'm going to go with Mel Blunt. 1B, I'm going to go with Aeneas Williams. The 3 spot, I'm going to go with Maurice Hurst. The number 4 spot, I'm going to go with James Davis. The number 5 spot, I'm going to go with Gerald Wilson Jr. Number 6 spot, I'm going to go with Danny Johnson. And number 7 spot, I'm going to go with Herb Williams. So that's top 5 Southern University cornerbacks, not just the P. Richardson era of all time. Man, salute to my cousin, Nola 7. Man, salute to your cousin. I appreciate you dropping through, showing some love. Another thing in the previous live stream, the brother Desmond Allen, he was like, man, Coach, check your inbox. So I was able to verify he was correct. Former Louisiana Tech running back, Princeton Cahey, 5'10", 190 pounds, red shirt, freshman. He's going to be a red shirt sophomore this coming year. He has transferred from Louisiana Tech to Southern University. I think this is going to be a good addition to Southern University's running back room. He's the prototypical Southern University running back, 5'9", 190 pounds, elusive, shifty. Like, he's kind of like that. I'm not saying he's exactly like these particular players, but I mean, he elusive, he shifty. So I mean, I don't know. Who knows if he's gonna run? I don't know how much experience he's gonna have, but from what I could see, Mike Franklin probably gonna be probably gonna be like the bell cow back because he fit like that more of that he probably gonna fit more of that Steele Adams, Gerard Sims, Gerard Sims type mold, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Ravel Schaefer, Michael Ball. See, I'm not gonna lie, I see this in the live screen. That's the reason why I really try to limit it to the Pete Richardson era to now, because a lot of these names are based on what Senior used to tell me. He used to talk about Maurice Hurst all the time. So that's the reason why these are the older guys I try to use. But I think we could say Mel Blount and Aeneas Williams 1 and 2. But see, he throwing names that I'm not gonna lie, Ravel Schaefer. That's before my time. That's why I stick with the Pete Richardson era to now. Matthew Dorsett. See, that's what I'm saying. These guys like before my time frame. So the list that I got is pretty much, even though it's been 20 years since he passed, that was more of a senior list. These are the names that he used to tell me. And my cousin Nola Selvin. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna lie, little cuz, he JC, he a JC running back right now. He red shirted. I'm not gonna lie, looking at his high school highlights in Dallas. Did it. Southern, he should definitely be on Southern radar, you know what I'm saying? Without question. We coming soon. Hey, I hope so he could get the AW, you know what I'm saying? And he said Dorsett played opposite of Jerry Wilson Jr. I'm not even gonna lie, Ravel Schaefer. I really don't. I guess because Jerry Wilson Jr. was, so stand out in my mind. I don't remember Dorsett. I remember because even if you look at like that 93 defense, like people tell me all the time, they were like, man, coach, like you don't remember such and such a 93 defense? I'm like, no, Sean Wallace really stood out to me on that 99 defense. I mean, that 93 defense. Jerry Wilson Jr., he really stood out. So I'm not gonna lie, Ravel Schaefer, like, even though I've been following Southern University for over 40 years, like even me, I still miss a bunch of them, you know what I'm saying? And Nola Selvin, Cuz was like, yeah, he been talking to them. Oh no, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna keep it 100. If Lil Cuz get in the building at AW, Pete Richardson, I'm not gonna lie. I know I'm biased because he's family, but I'm gonna keep it a buck. I ain't seen a game breaking running back have them type of long runs in high school. I ain't seen a Southern University running back have that in quite a while. Maybe like, Steve Wolford, like Melvin Williams Jr., like Lindsey Scott Sr., Leonard Tillery. Like, he a game breaker. So I think if Southern could get him, yeah, we definitely cook it with Crisco, you know what I'm saying? And Ravel Schaefer said, what happened to the running back from Wyoming coming in? I'm not gonna lie, Ravel Schaefer, some of these guys that's supposed to come to SU, I don't know, like, what happened to some of these guys. And that's the thing about it. Some of these guys supposedly coming, I don't know if they get caught in the portal or they change their mind. Because like old boy that ended up going to McNeese, the one that was like Bashawn McCray, but he said he was 6'5". I can't remember his name. He was another one. Like he was supposed to come to Southern, and then he turned around and he ended up going to the other school and ended up going to the 1AA national championship. Then he ended up going to McNeese, and McNeese gave him 100 bands. I don't know what they gave him 100 bands for, because when we went up to the Lake Charles, I'm not gonna even lie, I wasn't impressed. And Southern had another quarterback that was coming from Oklahoma that ended up going to some school in North Carolina. So a lot of times these guys are supposed to be coming, because I'm gonna be honest with you, Ravel Schaefer. Somebody told me, but this all-world running back that was supposed to be coming to Southern, and I'm like, all right, I'll start talking about him a little bit, and he ain't never showed up. So I don't know if it's instances where these guys using Southern University name to leverage themselves the way they really won't go. If they're trying to use Southern University's name just to kind of increase their NIL like opportunities, or you know, just to add more teams to their list of potential suitors. But some of these guys, I mean, I don't know. And Ravell Shaver said Otis Washington era didn't produce championships, but plenty of NFL and CFL players. And that's the thing about it. You know, it kind of makes me wonder because, because, you know, myself and, you know, on my brother channel, Swag Talk with C. Wells, he a little bit older than me, so he talked about Otis Washington era too. And that's the crazy thing about it. Like, how, like, you can have so many good players and, you know, so many high-level players, but it don't produce championship results. That's, you know, that's the crazy thing to me, you know what I'm saying? And Ravell Shaver said, gotcha, kids change their minds fast and get money thrown at them. And I'm not gonna lie, that's another thing too. You know, a lot of these kids, they're indecisive. I think they're looking for, like, the biggest NIL bag they could get, and in addition to that, like, maybe the best opportunity they could get, because I know this one kid, I think he was at South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, like some team offered him like $8 million in NIL money. And I'm like, dang, $8 million, like he might not even get that amount of NFL money, to be truthful. $8 million, and his dad told him, like, no, we're going to stay where we at. Like, you know, we concerned about our education. We're not worried about no $8 million. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to lie. Senior always did a good job guiding me in terms of, like, hey, son, that's the wrong move you're making. Now, that's the right move. But I'm not going to lie. I feel you that in terms of, like, you shouldn't just chase a bag, but if a school offering $8 million, I don't know if you really could turn that down. And in addition to that, like I said, I think a lot of times schools, players, when they say they coming to Southern or they going wherever, they try to use that as a bargaining chip to leverage where they really want to go. So at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know. But at the end of the day, like the NIL, for every good NIL story you get a lot of bad. So I think, like anything else, you know, there's pros and cons to it. You know what I'm saying? Because even if you look at like the Pete Richardson era, you know, it got to the point where, man, you had so many LSU players transferring to Southern. Like, even when I was in school, like a couple people was complaining. I'm like, man, look, bro, Southern is benefiting from these LSU players coming from LSU to Southern. So I mean, like, I didn't see what the big deal was, but even at that time, you had people that really didn't like it. So to me, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? And Nola, Cuz was like, I saw that. And he said, plus the school can pay you now straight. Yeah, and that's the thing about it. Like my brother Big Joe Townsend was saying, back then those players were getting paid anyway. They were getting money under the table. You know what I'm saying? Because I know guys that I went to Southern with that went to LSU, and man, they was getting money under the table back then. You know, this was in the late 90s, so they was getting money under the table. Ravell Shaver say all money ain't. Now, I ain't gonna lie, that's an excellent point, Ravell Shaver. All money ain't good money, you know what I'm saying? And then not only that, you know, one thing we got to take into consideration, you right, because like the kid that went to UNLV, and they offered him all kind of money, and they never ever like paid the boy. So he quit on his team. Now, I wasn't a proponent of him quitting on his team, but from a principal standpoint, like they promised to pay him money and they never delivered. So yeah, you right on that. All money ain't good money. And he said also when they pay you, they force you in the football majors. Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, you know, there wasn't like I had friends, like I'm not gonna name this one player, I'm not gonna name his name, but his dad and senior worked together at this chemical plant in St. James for a lot of years, and he ended up coming to Southern. And basically, he was like, you know, I used to talk to him all the time. I'm like, man, how you doing in school? You're like, he wasn't doing good at all. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, man, you got to get up at, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. You got to brush your teeth. You got to go lift. Then you got to go to class. You got to go to class all day. Then after that, you got to go, go practice. And then after practice, you go eat. Then you got to go to study hall. And I'm like, bro, like you in a prime position, like not too many people have like scholarship opportunity you have. And, he just wasn't feeling it. But I think in high school, he wasn't accustomed to working as hard as he had to work in college. And even when I was at Southern, I was staying on campus at the time, right? And man, me and one of my partners, we was in a union, Smith Brown Union, and we just kicking it. And I'm like, bro, like, what are you doing in here? Like, shouldn't you be in John B. Kidd in the study hall in the library? And he was like, man, I got tired of that whoop whoop whoop. And I'm like, bro, you say your grades ain't good, like you need to go study. So one of the coaches saw him in a union, and he pulled him and he brought him back upstairs. So I don't know what coach this was, but Southern used to have this coach that used to stand by the front door at John B. Kidd to make sure they didn't sneak out of study hall, right? So he got him back to study hall. So some kind of way, man, he snuck back out of study hall and came back to the union. I'm like, bro, you need to go study. You talking about your grades ain't good. You need to go study, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And your boy Jay, man, salute. He said, "Go Jags, man." Salute to your boy Jay. Cuz was like, Senior would have said, "Junior, get that money for real." Man, Senior would have been like, "Man, hey, bro, you better go get that bag." And Cuz was like, Nemo Bates was one who came to LSU. Yeah, I'm not gonna even lie. A lot of in that time frame, we was going to Southern Cubs, like a lot of them, like Nemesis Bates, Michael Hayes, Chris Cooper. Man, they had so many players come from LSU to Southern. Like it was unreal at that time. You know what I'm saying? And Ravel Schaefer said that probably was Coach Bumpy, LOL. So yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, some of them players used to. I don't know how they were sneaking out of study hall and coming to the union. And I'm like, look, bro, like I know I'm gonna go study. Ain't no 2 years of buddy, because guess what? Senior and mama paying for education. So like I ought to get my work. Now I'm gonna kick it a little bit in the union and talk to a couple of people. But guess what? Why not going back to the back? I'm going to study. You know what I'm saying? So I had no choice but to get my education. You know what I'm saying? But he was on scholarship at the time. He just didn't like it. His grades were bad, and he ended up filling out the team. He ended up staying in Southern for a few more years after that. But I guess he wasn't used to like putting that type of work and having that type of work ethic in terms of, working that hard in high school, because I'm not gonna lie, he was such a dog in high school. Like it was just easy for him. So when he came to college, when he came to Southern, he was like, man, hey, he wasn't used to getting up there early and going to work out in the morning and going to class all day. And then after that, he was like, man, it's a job. I'm like, I know, bro, you got a scholarship, you know what I'm saying? But I guess at the time he didn't see it, when you get older, I guess he might look at it different. Now I ain't talked to him in a while, He said, if it wasn't for you as senior, I would have known nothing but. So I'm for real. I'm not gonna even lie to you. The thing that used to get me, we used to go to Southern games, you used to go to Classic. You in in the Superdome hollering their brillers and having a good time. Man, shit, we up in there watching the game. So hey, like when I told you that 98, 99 Class D, some of the best games I've been to, man, cuz up in there in the class hollering their brillers, getting but 10 phone numbers. I'm like, man, hey, that's all well and good. I could do that in my spare time. I'm gonna holler at chicks in my spare time, but right now this game time, man, I'm gonna see this good ass game. And I'm not gonna lie, that probably the list I read at the beginning of the show. That 98, 99 Classics, that's like 2 of like the top 8 games I've been to all time. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, those late 90s Bayou Classics, those are some of like the best games I've ever been to. Like I say, probably for the exception of maybe like that 93 game when Steve Air McNair and Alcorn came to Southern. I'll probably say that. Like maybe 2013 Classic, 2014 Classic. Like, for the most part. In fact, I think that's probably going to be my next list. Like, my top 5 to top 10 Bayou Classics. Because I think like maybe like the last one before Pete came, it probably was the last one I think I didn't go to. And of course, when senior passed, I didn't go to 05 Classic. But other than that, like I pretty much went to the Classic every year, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. But, it's going to kind of be interesting to see in terms of, we know Southern going to have a good team, but can they bring in, special teams players to really take it over the top, you know what I'm saying? Your boy Jay said, I watch old Bayou Classic games on YouTube. a lot, a lot hoping one day we can get back to that type of dominance. I'm not gonna lie, in anytime like you get like outsiders that come to my channel, like JSU fans, or even when I'm over there on my brother C. Wells Swag Talk on his channel, and we get to talking about the old days of Southern, like you get a lot of JSU fans, some Alcorn State fans, but mostly JSU, some Alcorn, and just other fans from around the swag. Like, man, you talking like the 90s was like the greatest time in life, and this, that, and the third, and like basically I'm overestimating like the 90s, and I'm like, man, look, bro, I can't tell you what was the best year of your life. Like, if you was born in like 2000, maybe, 2020 was like, I ain't gonna say 2020, that's a bad year, but like maybe 2019 might have been the best year of your life, or whatever the case may be. But I was, I'm a haters baby, so guess what? The best year of my life, was like 98, 99. Like my first couple of years on the yard, these were like the best years ever. And I know some people were like, well, that probably was your first time living away from home or whatever. And that was my first time living away from home, but it wasn't just the fact that, hey, I'm on a college campus now. I'm talking about, when I say the best years in life, I'm talking about from a culture standpoint in terms of the movies, music, I'm not gonna lie, No Limit and Cash Money, and just the rap scene in general, No Limit, Cash Money, Bad Boy, Death Row. Like, we were talking about classic movies, classic music, like even gospel music. I remember like Yolanda Adams had like a banging gospel CD that year. So just like life in general was just like, so much better in that time frame then. Seemed like the movies was better, the music was better, just overall life in general was better, you know what I'm saying? And he said Leon Miller came from Michigan State. Yeah. Lavelle Shaver said I was at the 22 Classic, but they just don't hit like it. They really, I'm not gonna lie, it don't have the same atmosphere. It don't have the same feeling, because I remember when like me and one of my cousins was talking, and I'm like 8 years older than him, but he was saying like when he would come to the Classics in like the early 2000s when he was like of age, and he was like, man, he was like you would go to the Classic on like you go to the city on like Friday morning or whatever, and you'll be there. He said, man, Friday night you'll see people all over the place in the city. He said, so you'll see people all over the place in the city on like a Friday. I'm talking like Friday day. Friday night, it would be just so jumping, jam-packed. Then Saturday, game time, whoop-de-whoop-de-woo. And he was like, man, the game, like the dome would just be jumping. He was like, even if we wasn't in the seat, even if we wasn't in our seats watching the game, he was like, man, you could hear the bands, you could feel it. He said the atmosphere was just like electric. He was like, now he was like the last time, he hadn't been a Bayou Classic in years. And he knew I go every year. But he was like, man, the last time he went, he was like, man, he was walking around the Friday before the Classic. And he was like, man, like the city was empty. Like he said, it didn't even feel like Thanksgiving weekend. It didn't feel like Bayou Classic weekend. Not a lot was going on. And then he said, in addition to that, he said, like, even like the Saturday, the day of the game, he said it was no buzz in the city. He said it just didn't have that same feel. He said he went to the game and he was like, he not into football anyway. But he said the atmosphere. Now just think about it. He don't watch football, but he said the atmosphere inside the Superdome itself wasn't as electric as it normally is for a normal Bayou Classic. So he was like, after that, he just stopped coming to the game. So he not a football guy anyway, you know what I'm saying? So, he like in his later, at this point, he in his later 30s, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, the last time he came to the Classic, he was like, it just was kind of dead, And Lavelle Shaver said the dome was jumping. He said the dome was jumping. I'm 22 though, yeah. Your boy Jay said, I watch film on a new running back commit from La Tech. He has legit 4.4 speed. just need playing time. And that's another thing too. You know, people. You know, I caught a lot of like flack and a lot of heat when Kendrick Grimes hit the portal. You know, he ended up going to Tennessee State. And my thing was, you know, you got Jalen Woods who seemed like he's progressing, he's mature, and he had such a great spring game. And, you know, your quarterback room, to me, it looks to be so much better than it's been for the past, like, handful of years. To me, if you got the quarterback play where it needs to be, I think you need an experienced veteran running back to kind of go with it. So it wasn't that, hey, I'm just, you know, a proponent of them bringing Kendrick Grimes back for the sake of it, but you want an experienced running back to go with better quarterback play. So I think, like I said earlier during the live stream, I think from what I see, more than likely, you know, Mike Franklin, you know, he a big power back from Jacksonville State. He probably going to be the guy that gets most of the touches and most of the carries because, like I said in the previous live stream when I talked about Southern University football, we know that all they want to do is kind of run inside zone anyway, you know what I'm saying? They're going to try to run the ball like 35 times a game. So I think if you get the passing game and the running game working hand in hand. And another thing, too, that I didn't bring up when I talk about if the offense going to be as good as it was in the spring game and the defense going to be as good as it was like the past few years, then we cooking with Chris Scopo. Another thing, too, that Southern has kind of been synonymous for like over the last 10 years. Like Southern can't be synonymous for turning the ball over as much as they've been doing like maybe the last 10 years or so. And not only that, the penalties. Like Southern has to be a more disciplined team. Like I know the last time I went and see them play at Alcorn State, I mean, don't get me wrong, Alcorn State was dirty. They kept spitting on Southern players and doing dirty stuff. They'll do it first and Southern to get caught. But Southern need to clean up the penalties and the turnovers this year, you know what I'm saying? I think if the offense is going to be as good as I think it's going to be and the defense is going to be as good as it's been, yeah, I think we're going to be in good shape, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to KC. He said, you know, what's good? You know, where you at in here? Go Jags. Yes, sir, KC. Blackwater Bayou said, I haven't been to Bayou Class since 2003. I've heard it's not like it used to be. I'm not going to lie. I think overall, it's not like it used to be in terms of like in city, you know, New Orleans, like back in the gap in the late 90s, early 2000s, you'd have that buzz in the city for Bayou Classic weekend. And of course, I guess my niece had never been to the city Bayou Classic weekend. So this past year, she finessed us and we actually stayed in the city for the Bayou Classic, you know. So my mom, my mom, my niece, my godchild, we ended up going to the Bayou Classic. Oh, yeah, my nephew. So my niece, my nephew, my godchild, my mom, we went to the Bayou Classic. And I'm not going to lie, I think it's kind of back to me in terms of that feel. Now, the game itself, I'm not going to lie, this past Classic, it didn't stack up to like that list I read earlier in terms of like the most exciting Bayou Classics I've been to. I'm not going to lie, most of the game was like watching paint dry. It really didn't have that same level of excitement like 98, 99, like 02, 03, 04, you know, 2013, 2014. It just didn't have that same buzz to it, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, of course, you know, it had a nice little crowd. Like evidently this was like one of the best crowds they had this past year in terms of like years at the Classic or whatever. So, supposedly it was like a pretty good crowd, but you know, I feel like the Classics in the 90s and the early 2000s, it always hit different, you know what I'm saying? And your boy Jay said, I won't be surprised if the transfer from Jackson State wins the QB job. He fits the OC scheme. I'm not going to lie. I feel like McCoy, I think he's a better athlete than an actual quarterback. You know, if you look at Southern University history, you know, I'm not saying Mark Frederick. I'm just talking about the history in general. Maybe he does fit Mark Frederick's scheme because we know Mark Frederick, all he want to do is run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. He won't run zone read option, but 35, 40 times a game. But in terms of, you look at Southern when they had their most success, they had more pure pocket passes that could run, like Eric Randall, you know, like, you know, Terrence Levy, you know, Quincy Richard, Bryant Lee. Austin Howard, Dre Joseph. I think Jalen Woods kind of fits that mold more so than McCoy, you know. So when I see McCoy, I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback. I think he's more of an athlete than a quarterback. I'm not saying he is bad as like Bashawn McCray, but I think he kind of somewhere in between Bashawn McCray and T.R. Ricks, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? At least from my personal perspective, you know what I'm saying? He said the Jags will look different. We just got to accept the fact that we will not score 40 points a game. I'm not going to lie, Ravell Schaefer. I'd be cool with if they scored 28 points a game. Hell, as long as you win a SWAC championship and you win, I was trying to say the Heritage Bowl. As long as you win a Celebration Bowl and win a SWAC championship, I don't care if you win every game by 1 point and you win every game 28-27. You know, as long as we get back to what we used to be and we win that SWAC championship and we win that Celebration Bowl, I really don't care to keep it a buck. I'm not really concerned about the high scoring. I'm more concerned with the winning. They're not winning like they did in the 90s. You know, that's the main thing I look at, you know what I'm saying? So when I talk about the good old days, I'm talking about the good old days of us just dominating the SWAC, you know what I'm saying? And Ravell Schaefer said, Jags lead the SWAC in red zone turnovers, clean it up, and play some defense. Games will be boring, but she'll produce dubs. And that's another thing, too. You know, the one thing I like, you know, whether we admit it or not, the defense has carried Southern the last few years. But the quarterback play just was trash. You know, last year, I'm not going to lie, Noah Biden was trash. I think Zay was more of a young quarterback. That's why he was so inconsistent. And Jalen kind of solidified everything at the end of the year. Then he got a concussion in the Classic. So now you got to go back to Zay and Noah. And then before that, you had Harold Blood, who was trash. You know, and I'm not going to lie. And before that, you had Bashawn McCray, who was a glorified running back, playing quarterback, and Glendon Bowman McDaniel. He should have got to start his senior year, his last year eligibility. So I blame that, you know, that last one on Dooley, but the last 2 years the quarterback played and what it should have been. But I think if the defense is as good as it's been the last few years, if the quarterback play is as good as it was in the spring game, I think we're going to be straight. But you're right, though. You know, the defense kind of been carrying it, but we can't turn the ball over. You know, we got to get back to running the ball. And I think special teams is the last component. You know, I see it all the time. You know, I think you need to find your dynamic punt and kick returner like a Ezra Landry, like a Willie Quinn, like a Fred Bailey, like a Kenyatta Sparks. And, you know, hopefully the kicking game can get back to what it was too, you know. If you could get you like another, you know, Joshua Griffin, you know, another Carlos Leach at punter, you know, you get you another Matt Bushart, another you know, Mr. Goldenfoot, Ruben Beauplants. If you could get all of that, I think you're cooking with Crisco. But they definitely need to clean up the turnovers and penalties without question. And Cuz laughing at my niece finessing us to go to the Classic. Go spend the night before the game in the city. Yeah, you know, she was like, oh, you know, I'm gonna give this amount of money, and uncle could do this and do that. Man, hey, guess what? We ended up footing that whole bill. You know what I'm saying? So, but I don't lie, we had a good time. You know, my mom, my niece, my nephew, my godchild. You know, it was a good little outing. You know, and Blackwater Bayou said Mark Frederick's coaching scheme scares me. I don't know what he be thinking. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be honest with you. His play calling the entire season last year was very questionable. I think he was able to get away with it in a Bayou Classic. He was able to get away with it against UAPB. He was able to get away with it. Had Jalen Woods not come in the game, I'm not going to lie, Bethune would have won that game, but he was able to get away with it. You know what I'm saying? But it's to the point now, like, hey, bro, like, stakes are higher. You have more talent at your disposal now. Like, come on now, we need to do better. I think if he don't shape up this year, I'm going to keep it a buck. It might be time to demote him. You know, I'm not a proponent of firing coaches because, you know, I'm a coach myself, of course, on the lower level, you know, middle school level, junior high level, but I'm not a proponent of just firing coaches, but I'm going to keep it a buck. Mark Frederick needs to turn it around this year, big time, because his play calling is extremely suspect and highly questionable at best. You know, at worst, it's just trash to keep it a buck, you know what I'm saying? And your boy Jay said we haven't had a legit QB since Austin Howard. I'm not gonna lie, your boy Jay. If you talking about a very good starting quarterback, that's the clear cut number one guy, I would agree with you. But I'm not gonna lie. I think Dooley will still be in Baton Rouge had he not screwed up that situation with Bashawn McCray and Glenn Above McDaniel. Glenn Above McDaniel clearly should have been the starting quarterback that year. And I'm not even gonna lie about it. If you was able to get to the SWAC championship game with Bashawn McCray, and based on what he did early that season against Texas Southern, he was trash against Texas Southern. The only thing that helped Bashawn McCray that season was the fact that after that game, you had a bye, then you had a soft schedule, and you was able to go on a little bit of a bum badge. But then, when you start playing some more tougher games, he got exposed again. And by the time you got to the SWAC championship game, I think all would have been forgiven with me when it came to Dooley had he started Glenn Above McDaniel in that SWAC championship game. But no, his dumb ass, he still started Bashawn McCray. Bashawn McCray came out there and he was trash. Then he pulled Harold Blood. Harold Blood go out there and he trash. Then he put Bashawn McCray back in the game. Bashawn McCray trash again. Then after that, finally you put Glenn Above McDaniel in the game. Now you down 26-0. This boy coming in, he played good. Had you started the game 0-0 and had he started, and see the thing, he had basically all, Bashawn McCray was a glorified running back playing quarterback. But from a defensive standpoint, basically all J State did was play zero coverage and center house. They really was trying to get after you and really get at you. And, he was more athletic than most of the defenses he saw, but J State had better athletes than all the other defenses he saw that year. And not only that, Harold Blood, he was trash as a quarterback, period. He looked good against teams like Virginia Lynchburg and Florida Memorial, but, that's how trash, you was as a quarterback. But Glenn Above McDaniel, when J State came and they just tried to load up the box and send everybody, he was able to go through his progression, make quick reads, get rid of the ball quickly, and when nobody was open, he stepped up in the pocket and he could take off and run. So he was the best of both worlds. He should have been a starting quarterback that entire season. And then in addition to that, he was the best quarterback you had on the roster the entire season, but he gave you the best chance of winning against Jackson State. And I don't know why Dooley waited so long to see that. So that's why I say it was time for him to go, because clearly his close personal relationship with Bashawn and Benny McCray, it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? And Cuz was like, Dooley coached me in high school, but I didn't like him at Southern. Hey, he was terrible as a head coach at Southern, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is, you know what I'm saying? And I ain't gonna lie, Cuz you went to a bunch of high schools, so so you bounced around. I'm sure it's easy for you to be coached by somebody in high school, but I'm not gonna lie, he was trash at Southern though, you know what I'm saying? And Quesnova say, stop calling your athletes trash. Man, look, I'm gonna call it a buck. I'm gonna keep it a buck. If whatever school you like, if a player is not playing good, I'm sure you're gonna say, hey, he's not playing good. And the thing about it, for the most part, I really don't call players trash, except for when they really don't deserve to be starting. So I think Bashawn McCray was a good athlete, but Bashawn McCray was not a quarterback. There's no way Eric Dooley should have had him starting at quarterback. Realistically, what he should have done is starting Glenn Above McDaniel and put somebody else at that position. And he was terrible at quarterback, but at least he was better than Harold Blood, and he was better than Noah Biden. Harold Blood and Noah Biden was terrible at quarterback. So if they would have played better, I would be calling them trash. So we're going to call a spade a spade. That's like me as a Saints fan. That's like me saying, guess what? You know what? Hey, Derek Carr, Derek Carr wasn't that bad. He wasn't trash. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, like, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So if Derek Carr would have played better as a Saints quarterback, I'd have been like, hey, he's a decent quarterback. Derek Carr was a decent quarterback. Derek Carr was trash. So it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So Chris Noah said that's not on the athletes. Well, I mean, well, guess what? Hey, you heard me call Eric Dooley our trash head coach. Our trash head coach numerous occasions. So you're right. It's not on the athlete. I agree with you on that. Hey, and that's why Eric Dooley is no longer in Baton Rouge. That's why, Southern got rid of him. Grambling got rid of him. We don't even know where Eric Dooley at right now. You know what I'm saying? So let him go coach football somewhere in Texas. I don't even want him in Louisiana. And like Desmond Allen said the last live stream, he was like, I don't want him coaching high school football in Mississippi either, So I don't know where Eric Dooley, but you're right. That's not on the athletes. That's on a coach. So we agree on that one. You know what I'm saying? And Cuz was like, LOL, a bunch of school period. Oh yeah, no doubt, because one of your partners that I had this tennis class with at Southern, and he was like, some kind of way me and him got to talk about you. And I'm like, yeah, Cuz bounced around, in high school. He was like, yeah, he said, which high school you talking about? He was like, he went to a bunch of high schools. I said, yeah, for real. And your boy Jay said, till this day, I never understand why Dooley issue was with Bubba. I'm glad Bubba proved, him wrong. And that's the thing about it. Had he started Glenn Bubba McDaniel, he literally he could have won you the SWAC championship. And then I'm not even gonna lie, I'm gonna keep it a buck. People might say I'm biased. Man, in my opinion, if you beat Jackson State, you going to the Celebration Bowl, man, you beat South Carolina State. You know what I'm saying? I think they matched up better against South Carolina State than Jackson State did. I think Jackson State kind of underestimated South Carolina State in that game anyway, you know what I'm saying? And he was saying, after the third, I never finished saying school. I started at the beginning of the school year. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. You ain't the only cousin. I had his other cousin, right? In fact, Rude Dog, he used to be on Bayou Sports Talk all the time. He another one. He bounced to multiple school districts, you know what I'm saying? He went from school district to school district. So, a lot of times we used to get the joking during the holidays and stuff. My uncle would be like, man, you was on tour. You went to school in this school district. You went to school in that school district. You know what I'm saying? At one point, you had to catch a ride way out there to Curtis, to go to summer school and this, that, and third. We get the, cracking jokes and laughing during the holidays and stuff, when all the family get around. So, yeah, he was another one. He went from school district to school district. Then, we get to telling stories about, stuff he did when he was younger. I ain't going to put his business out here on a live stream, but I'm not going to lie. Some of the stuff he did, I'm like, man, boy, hey, ain't no way in the hell I could have done that, man. Senior would have tried to strangle me had I done some of the stuff Rude Dog did when he was in school. You know what I'm saying? But, I mean, it is what it is. But, that was the reason why I didn't do dumb stuff, because guess what? Because when I got home, I didn't want my mom to say, you know what? I'm going to tell your daddy. Man, that was the worst. That was the worst words I could hear as a kid. And to this day, I'm a grown man, and I wear glasses. I'm supposed to wear glasses. Man, I ain't wore glasses probably in about 15 years because I used to lose them all the time. And when I get home, my mom would be like, you know what? I'm going to tell your daddy. And I'm like, man, I got to go look for these damn glasses because I don't want to get in trouble. So, yeah, I see them in these social media streets all the time. They talking about, hey, that's why we need daddies. Hey, I'm the living, walking, talking, breathing example of that. Guess what? Having a daddy will keep you straight. You know what I'm saying? It'll keep me in line. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's why I always praise him for his birthday. I always wearing his shirt for Father's Day and for his birthday. So, yeah, without question. Your boy JC, if the OC pulls out last year game plan versus North Carolina Central on national TV, do you pull the plug on him after one game or you give him a couple more? I'm not going to lie, in terms of your offensive line, you got chemistry on your offensive line at this point. So your offensive line, you have chemistry. You got a big power back in the Franklin kid coming from Jacksonville State. I think the thing about it is if he ever trash out against North Carolina Central, I don't think you pull the plug on him right away. You give him a few more games to figure it out. But I'm not going to lie. I know me as a head coach, that's part of the reason why I always call my own plays is the head coach. I was more of an offensive coach than a defensive coach anyway, you know what I'm saying? And I got other coaching friends that
Of course, it's on the middle school level. It's not on the college level. Middle school, junior high. But I got friends that call it on offense, defense, and special teams. But in terms of Mark Frederick, he definitely need to tighten up because, if you playing up against a team like North Carolina Central, you're not just gonna be the lineup and just punch him in the mouth the entire game. Even with a big offensive line and a big power back, like I don't see, you just being able to line up and just punch him in the mouth the whole game. And not only that, based on what I saw from Jalen Woods and Jones in the Blue versus Gold spring game, your quarterback play is going to be much better this coming season than it was last season. So if you have more of a balanced approach where you throw the ball 35 times and you run the ball 35 times, I'm not going to say you're going to get the perfect balance, but I don't think he needs to lean as heavily on his run game this coming season. That's just my personal opinion. But as a fan, as somebody that knows football, that's a football coach, like I wouldn't be cool with him just, calling all these, inside zone running plays when you need to mix it up and you need to have more of a balanced approach. Blackwater Bayou say, pull a plug, LOL, give it to McNair. And I'm not gonna lie, this is a conversation that we've had. Like a lot of individuals were big on him. I think Blackwater Bayou was one of them. Like people were saying this last year, like during the season, it was like demote Mark Frederick, making the running back coach and upgrade McNair to like the offensive coordinator. They were saying this last year, but other people was like, nah, stick with Frederick as the offensive coordinator. The reason why they were saying it was like because McNair was always either a position coach or the head coach. He was never an OC. So that's why, some of the fans were like, no, we're gonna stick with Frederick. And I'm not gonna, but his play calling was trash though. I can't sugarcoat it. I can't say it no other way than that. Ravel Schaefer was like, I've been watching SU football since they played in Memorial Stadium. SU been yanking QBs forever. LOL. And that's the thing about it. See, the thing with McCray, the thing with Dooley's situation, I think the reason why we were so down on him is because he showed that he wasn't that guy. So why they didn't just yank him, but he stuck with McCray. And the thing about it was, from a talent standpoint, you had more talent than most of the teams you played against, for the exception of Jackson State. And then, of course, he played a terrible game against Texas Southern. But at the end of the day, like he should have been yanked, that boy. So I don't understand, why it was that. You know what I'm saying? Nola Seven said it was a holiday for my dad with senior kid. Oh no, I'm not gonna lie. Hey, he used to look forward to seeing him. You know what I'm saying? He used to look forward to your daddy with his deep voice, And yeah, I'm not gonna lie. We used to love going to the city, for Bayou Classic, and then we come in, especially after Southern won, and then we used to be sitting around the table at Graham house, your Graham, not my Graham, because because for y'all don't know, like in our family, on that side of the family, we call our grandmothers Graham. So my great aunt is his grandmother, and his great aunt is my grandmother. So we would go to his Graham house, and we would sit and watch football, this, that, and third. Especially after Southern won. Now Southern lost. Hey, seniors ready to get the hell up out of Dodge. They'd be pissed. But for the most part, around that time, like I think Pete Richardson had won like 8, 9 straight Bayou Classics. So it was a long time for Southern actually lost, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna lie, I used to love going to the city, them dropping the star by the Superdome, us walking, us getting a ride after the game, going back to Tea House and just kicking it. Oh yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Those Bayou Classic in the 90s, whoo, man, hey, that was like the best times ever, you know what I'm saying? And Blackwater Bayou said he's just a running backs coach at best. No, I'm not gonna lie, Blackwater Bayou, you and probably but I'm over exaggerating a little bit, but probably about 50 other people and told me the same thing. They was like, man, look, hey, that boy Mark Frederick is not an OC. At best, he a running backs coach. So yeah, you and like 50 other people have told me that. So you're not alone in saying that. Most people think he a trash OC, but I'm willing to give him till this year to straighten it out. Like he need to do better because last year, I'm not gonna lie, his play calling was just flat out trash. And Ravel Schaefer said, yes. folks gonna start calling for Fred if we don't look good. No, I'm not gonna lie, Ravel Schaefer. Hey, they got people telling me now. They was like, man, coach, like if we get off to a slow start, they was like, no disrespect to Graves, but they were like, we get off to a slow start. Like, forget McNair being the OC. Like, we'll be cool with them pushing Graves out and making McNair the head coach. And I'm like, hold up, bro. Like, it's too soon for that. But I'm telling you. So I said this at the beginning of last season. I'm not even gonna lie. I had to give Graves credit for it because after the Nicholls State game, where I'm from, it's closer to Nicholls State than it is to Southern. Man, I was so pissed after the game when they lost to Nicholls State. I'm not gonna lie, I beat Nicholls State to Highway 1 because I didn't even wait till the game was over. By the time I left, I think Jalen Woods was in the game, and I left. I was so pissed. He turned it around. Graves turned it around good, so that's why I have a little grace for him. But I'm talking to people already. It was like, hey, bro, if they start out slow this season, hey, it could get ugly real quick because you have more talent. You did a good job recruiting, but you gotta put it together. So, like I said in the last live stream, he's not gonna get the Jaguar Nation seal of approval and that Jaguar Nation stamp until he wins a SWAC championship in a Celebration Bowl. Until he does that, like, he's not gonna be his foot in Jaguar Nation is not gonna be secure. But that's why I gotta give him credit. He done a good job. Your boy JC Wynn was looking rough at the beginning of the season. People were calling for McNair. No, I just said that, your boy Jay. Like, they was calling for McNair to replace Graves then. And I'm not even gonna lie, if he fall in the same situation again this season, like, it could get ugly like that again. But I liked how you turn it around, so I got to give him credit for that, though. You know what I'm saying? Because if you'd have told me after the Nicholls State law that we was gonna end up in the SWAC championship game, I'd have been like, man, you lying your ass off. I would have never believed it. You know what I'm saying? He said hotels on Canal Street run $400 a night minimum now. Oh yeah, I'm not even gonna lie. That's why I say my niece finessed us, Ravel Schaefer, because she was like, oh, I'm gonna give y'all a certain amount and you're gonna pay, like, basically we used to pay in forwards. And me and mom ended up paying like the whole damn bill for the whole weekend. So that's why I say she finessed us. I mean, I know she she a 21, 22, whatever she is, college student. But like, hey, look, if all you to say was, hey, we just won't go spend a weekend, spend a night, that Friday night, in New Orleans for the game for the next morning. But we've been doing it for so many years in terms of we get up early that morning. That's one thing. But senior, when they come to the classic, he like, hey, we getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. We getting good, we getting ready. Boom, we out. We would go to Shoney's. The only Shoney's they have that's still open now is on the West Bank. So if he still was living, we'll probably get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, go drive all the way on the West Bank to Shoney's. Then after that, we'll get to the game early. The only problem is now is they don't open the Superdome doors as early as they used to when he was living back then. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, like, we'll be in the Superdome like an hour before kickoff. Hell, it's to the point now, hell, they don't even want to open up the doors for the Superdome until like 30 minutes before kickoff. Like, I remember the last few years, a couple times, I didn't get into the Superdome until after kickoff. Like this past year and maybe like a few years ago, like, I didn't get into the Superdome until like after kickoff because they opened the doors so late. And my mom was saying the same thing. She was like, I wonder if they do this for like, the the Sugar Bowl and other events they have in New Orleans Superdome. She was like, I bet you they only do this for the Bayou Classic. And I'm like, yeah, but we the double standard. It is what it is. And your boy JC Graves is very, very self-aware and understands. Unlike Dooley, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That's one thing I gotta say. Your boy Jay is, to me, he seems to have his pulse. He seems to have the pulse of Jaguar Nation in terms of like being cognizant of what's going on. Like Graves just was not, like you say, he wasn't self-aware. Like he had no clue. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like my whole section when Graves was the head coach, you know, when I talk about the Glenn Bo McDaniel situation, like this wasn't something that we was talking about like for a few weeks leading up to the SWAC championship game. This was something we was talking about the whole season. So I think Graves has a better feel for the pulse of Jaguar Nation. You know, him being a Southern coach that coached back in the Gap, I think he kind of understand like, hey, we piss excellence in Jaguar Nation. Anything less than a championship season is unacceptable. So I think he understands that. Whereas Dooley was not self-aware, and not only that, but Dooley was a liar too. You know, that last time FAMU came to AW when Dooley was the head coach, and you got like 50 seconds left in the game, and Dooley game and clock management was just so trash. And then for him to say, oh, the reason why we ran the ball up the middle was because, you know, they were playing prevent. I'm like, dude, I'm a goddamn coach. You ain't fooling me. You ain't running no prevent. FAMU wasn't running no prevent defense. What you thought was because you ran the ball on their throat in the first half of that game, and FAMU started tightening up and they started locking down a run in the second half. Hey, since we got like 50 seconds left in the game, and we right at midfield, you know, I might be able to run the ball with Kendrick Grimes or whatever, and we could get maybe but a 20-yard run, a 25-yard run, and we could get halfway down the field, and they still was locking down the run game. So at the end of the day, like his lying, his not being self-aware, like you said, your boy Jay, you know, him not understanding Jaguar Nation, him not having the feel and the pulse for Jaguar Nation, you know, him constantly lying, him not putting the right players in position to be successful. You know, it's what cost him his job, you know. And like I said, that same FAMU game, if Chandler Whitfield, who's a player, if he was able to say, guess what, I fumbled, you know, I put us at a disadvantage, like I have to be better next time and not put us in a compromising situation. If he was able to take accountability for his actions in that game, as a head coach, you should have been able to take accountability for your actions too. So that's the reason why he not at Southern. Yeah, that's the reason why he not at Grambling. Like I said, he done bounced around the SWAC for so long. I know at some point he's going to get another SWAC job. But that's it for this live stream. Man, I appreciate everybody that's been constantly supporting the channel, been rocking with me since day one. Like, you know, Blackwater Bayou, like Relaxing Calm Rain, Motivation to Be a Millionaire, all of the new subscribers. I just appreciate everybody just for rocking with me, just in general. So salute, I'm going down the chat, you know, salute to Relaxing Calm Rain, salute to Motivation to Be a Millionaire, salute to Blackwater Bayou, salute to my brother Jared 11 Green. Y'all be certain to go to his channel, check out his channel. Every Sunday the Southern Baller Show, every few weeks, Black Man's Perspective on a Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Hopefully we get another episode this Saturday. Salute to my cousin Nola 7. Man, salute to Ravel Schaefer, you know, very knowledgeable member of Jaguar Nation. Salute, because he was throwing players that, you know, that was definitely before my time. So salute to Ravel Schaefer. Salute to your boy Jay. And salute to everybody. Salute to KC, another one, been supporting the channel. Quiz Nova say, you know, basically quit calling him at least trash. All right, I got you, Quiz Nova. Who else? Trying to see, we got somebody else in the chat. But man, salute to everybody dropping through, showing some love. Today, Wednesday, I'm gonna try to drop not another live stream, but I'm gonna try to drop a video on Friday. You know, hopefully I give y'all some more transfer information, because I'm trying to verify if, you know, these couple people that we talked about in the last live stream, if they actually legitimately transferred to Southern. So I'm gonna try to verify that, and I'm also gonna come up with another Southern University top 5 list. So man, I'll catch y'all on a rebound. Y'all have a blessed and phenomenal evening. Peace and blessings to everybody, and go Jags.